Hello, everyone. I want to start by asking you something. Have you ever stopped to think about how the words we use every day shape the way we see ourselves, the way others see us, and even the way we feel about the world around us? It's something we often overlook, but our words carry so much power, more than we realize. As women who've lived over 70 years, you carry the wisdom of lifetimes. Think about all the challenges you've faced, the victories you've celebrated, the lessons you've learned, and the incredible memories you've created. But let's be honest, society doesn't always appreciate or recognize the value of that. Sometimes, without even realizing it, we pick up words and phrases that undermine the strength, grace, and resilience that define us. That's why I'm so glad you're here today. In this video, I want to talk about 12 words you should stop using. Words that could be holding you back from living with confidence, intention, and joy. These aren't just any words. They're ones we've all said at some point, often without thinking, but they have a sneaky way of shaping our emotions and limiting our potential. Before we dive in, I'd love to hear from you. If you're excited to learn something new today, type yes in the comments below. And if there's a specific word you think might be holding you back, share that too. This is a safe space for us to learn and grow together. All right, let's get started. Word 1. Just. Let's start with a word that seems so small and harmless, but can quietly chip away at your confidence. Just. Think about how often you've said something like, "I just wanted to check in," or "I'm just saying," or even, "I just think maybe." It's such a common word, isn't it? But here's the thing. It has a sneaky way of making your voice sound smaller, as though you're apologizing for speaking up or for having an opinion. When you use just in this way, it softens your message and makes it sound less confident, even when you have something important to say. It's almost like you're asking for permission to take up space in the conversation. And let me tell you, at this stage of your life, you've more than earned the right to speak boldly and with authority. You've navigated decades of challenges and triumphs. You've learned, grown, and contributed in ways only you could. Your voice matters, your opinions matter, and your presence matters. There's no need to downplay any of that. So, how do we stop using this word? It's simple. Leave it out. Instead of saying, "I just wanted to check in," say, "I wanted to check in." Instead of, "I just think maybe you should," say, "I think you should." Do you feel the difference? The message becomes clear, direct, and confident. It's a small change, but it can make a big difference in how you feel about yourself and how others perceive you. Point 2. Old. Now, let me start by saying this. There is nothing wrong with acknowledging your age. But when we start labeling ourselves as old, it can create unnecessary limitations in our minds. Think about how often we say things like, "I'm too old to try that," or "I'm just an old woman." Even saying, "You know how it is when you're old," carries an undertone of limitation. When you use this word to describe yourself, you're unintentionally reinforcing the idea that age defines what you can or cannot do. But here's the truth. Your age does not define you. Yes, you've lived many years, and with those years comes a richness of experience, wisdom, and understanding. But the number of candles on your birthday cake is just that, a number. It doesn't tell the whole story of who you are or what you're capable of. You're so much more than old. You are wise. You are experienced. You are seasoned by life. Let's reframe how we speak about ourselves. Instead of saying, "I'm too old for that," try saying, "I've seen enough of life to know what's important, and I'm choosing to do what matters to me." Instead of saying, "I'm an old woman," try saying, "I'm a woman with a lifetime of stories and lessons to share." And instead of saying, "You know how it is when you're old," how about, "You know how it is when you've been through it all." Your words matter because they shape how you see yourself and how others see you. When you let go of the label old, you make room for a more empowering narrative. You start to see the possibilities rather than the limitations. You start to focus on what you can do, not what you think you can't. Point 3. Sorry. Now let's talk about a word that so many of us use without even realizing how often it slips into our conversations. Sorry. Now, don't get me wrong. There is strength in offering a sincere apology when you've made a mistake or hurt someone. Saying sorry in those moments shows humility and self-awareness. But that's not the kind of sorry I'm talking about. What I mean is the unnecessary apologies we make. Think about how often you've said things like, "Sorry to bother you," or "Sorry, I don't know how to do that," or even, "Sorry, can I say something?" Do you see what's happening here? These apologies aren't necessary. You're apologizing for having a need, for speaking up, or for simply existing in the space. Over time, this habit can chip away at your confidence and even how others perceive you. Here's the hard truth. Constantly apologizing sends a subtle message, not just to others, but to yourself, that you're an inconvenience or that your needs aren't as important as others. And that's simply not true. So, how do we break the habit of over-apologizing? The answer is simple. Reframe your language. Instead of saying sorry, try using expressions that are confident and assertive. For example, if you're running late, instead of saying, "Sorry, I'm late," say, "Thank you for waiting." If you need to interrupt, replace "Sorry to interrupt" with "Excuse me, I have something to add." And instead of "Sorry, I don't know," try saying, "That's interesting. I'd love to learn more." Do you feel the difference? These small changes may seem minor, but they have a powerful impact on how you see yourself and how others respond to you. They shift the focus from guilt to gratitude or curiosity. They make your presence feel intentional, not apologetic. Point 5. Should. Let's talk about a word that carries so much weight. Should. It's one of those words we use almost without thinking, but it's often wrapped up in guilt, obligation, and self-criticism. Think about how many times you've said something like, "I should exercise more," or "I should have done better with my finances," or even, "I should spend more time with my family." Every time you use the word should, it's like placing a heavy burden on your shoulders. It's a silent reprimand, a way of telling yourself that you're not doing enough or that you've fallen short. And the worst part is, it doesn't motivate us. It just makes us feel bad. Over time, should can create an endless cycle of guilt, making it hard to enjoy the present or feel good about what you're doing right now. Here's the truth. Life is too short to carry the weight of all the shoulds. You've already done so much. You've juggled responsibilities, supported loved ones, and made countless sacrifices. You don't need to keep piling on guilt for things you think you should be doing. So, how do we break free from this habit? The answer is simple. Replace should with words that empower you. Instead of saying, "I should exercise more," try saying, "I want to move my body because it makes me feel strong." Instead of, "I should spend more time with my children," say, "I choose to spend quality time with my children because it brings me joy." Do you feel the difference? These small shifts change the focus from obligation to intention, from guilt to empowerment. It's not just about the present either. Many of us carry around a long list of should-haves from the past. "I should have saved more money," or "I should have pursued that opportunity." But let me remind you, those moments are gone. You can't go back and change them. What you can do is focus on the here and now and decide what you want to do moving forward. Let go of the guilt. Let go of the shoulds. Life is about choices, not obligations. When you make decisions based on what you truly want or value, you'll find a sense of freedom and joy that should can never give you. Point 6. Ugly. Now let's talk about a word that no one should ever use to describe themselves. Ugly. How many times have you stood in front of the mirror and thought, "My wrinkles make me look ugly," or "My body just isn't what it used to be. It's ugly now." Even if you say it casually or in passing, the word ugly can do deep, lasting damage to how you see yourself. Here's the truth. There is nothing ugly about you. Every line on your face, every silver strand in your hair, and every change in your body tells a story of a life well lived. Those laugh lines? They're proof of years filled with joy and moments of connection. Those scars or stretch marks, they're evidence of strength, resilience, and growth. And that silver in your hair? It's a crown of wisdom you've earned with grace. When you use the word ugly, you're reducing yourself to an appearance-based judgment that ignores everything else you are. You're so much more than what you see in the mirror. You're the wisdom you've gained, the love you've shared, and the impact you've made on the lives of others. It's time to stop being so harsh on yourself and start speaking with kindness and appreciation for your body. Instead of saying, "I look ugly," try saying, "I look authentic," or "I look real." If you find yourself criticizing your appearance, shift your focus. Look in the mirror, and find something you love about yourself. Maybe it's the sparkle in your eyes, the warmth in your smile, or the strength in your hands. No matter what, there's always something beautiful to celebrate. But this doesn't just stop with how you see yourself. It's also about how you talk about others. If you've ever found yourself judging someone else's appearance, pause and ask yourself, is this the kind of energy I want to put into the world? Instead of criticism, try offering a compliment. Uplifting others creates a ripple effect, and it also helps you see more beauty in yourself. Aging is not something to fear or to hide. It's a privilege denied to many, and it's a testament to your resilience and ability to grow. You are not ugly for aging. You are evolving, becoming more yourself with each passing year. Point 7. Lonely. Now let's talk about a word that carries a lot of emotional weight. Lonely. It's a word we often use to describe how we feel when we're by ourselves or disconnected from others. But loneliness isn't just about being alone. It's about the belief that no one truly understands you or that your presence doesn't matter. And that belief can be incredibly isolating. Here's something important to remember. Feeling lonely doesn't mean you are alone. It's a temporary emotion, not an unchangeable reality. But the more you say, I feel lonely, the more it becomes a part of your identity. It can lead you to withdraw even further, making it harder to reach out and connect with others. The first step to overcoming loneliness is to shift the way you talk about it. Instead of saying, I'm lonely, try saying, I'm seeking connection. This small change opens the door to possibility. It reminds you that loneliness is not a permanent state. It's something you can address with action and intention. So, how do we take action? Start small. Reach out to someone you trust, a friend, a family member, or even a neighbor. Sometimes, just a simple conversation can lift your spirits. If you want to expand your connections, consider joining a group or activity that interests you. It could be anything from a book club to a gardening group to volunteering for a cause you care about. These are wonderful opportunities to meet people who share your values and interests. Another way to combat loneliness is by engaging with younger generations. Many young people are eager to learn from your wisdom and experience, and they can offer fresh perspectives in return. Sharing your stories, laughter, and advice can create meaningful bonds that enrich both your life and theirs. Remember, loneliness doesn't define you. You have so much to offer the world. Your kindness, your wisdom, your humor. There are people out there who would be thrilled to connect with you. But sometimes, you have to take the first step. It might feel hard at first, but every effort you make to connect is a step toward greater joy and fulfillment. Point 8. Too old, tired, late. Let's dive into a word that might seem harmless but carries a heavy weight when used in phrases like too old, too tired, or too late. The word too has a way of putting up walls that don't really exist. How many times have you said, I'm too old for that? Or, I'm too tired to try something new? Or, it's too late for me to start over? Every time we use too, we're convincing ourselves that there's a limit to what we can do or achieve. But here's the truth. Those limits only exist in our minds. Life doesn't come with an expiration date for growth, learning, or trying new things. As long as you're here, breathing and living, it's never too late to explore what's possible. Let's take the phrase, I'm too old for that. Instead of thinking about what you can't do because of your age, focus on what you can do with the wisdom and experience you've gained over the years. Sure, certain things might need to be adapted. Your body might not move the way it did when you were 30, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean you can't try. For example, if you've always wanted to take up dancing or gardening, start now. It might take some adjustments, but the joy and fulfillment you'll get from trying are worth it. And what about too tired? Sometimes, this phrase becomes an excuse. While it's important to listen to your body and rest when needed, ask yourself if you're truly tired or if it's a habit to say so. Instead of, I'm too tired, try saying, I'll rest first, then see what I can do. This reframe gives you permission to pause without closing the door on possibilities. Finally, let's talk about too late. This is one of the most common ways we limit ourselves, but it's also one of the most untrue. It's never too late to learn something new, rekindle a relationship, or start a new project. In fact, some of the most inspiring stories come from people who achieved incredible things later in life. Think about this. What's stopping you from being one of those stories? Nothing but the word to. Point 9. I can't complain. Let's talk about a phrase we've all said at one time or another. I can't complain. On the surface, it sounds polite, maybe even positive. But when you look deeper, you'll see how this phrase can limit your ability to connect with others and express your true feelings. When someone asks how you're doing and you respond with, I can't complain, you're shutting down the opportunity to share what's really going on in your life. Maybe you're feeling overwhelmed, lonely, or uncertain, but by defaulting to this phrase, you mask those emotions. You deny yourself the chance to process what you're feeling, and you keep the people who care about you at arm's length. The truth is, life isn't always easy. There are ups and downs, and it's okay to talk about them. Sharing your feelings doesn't mean you're complaining. It means you're being honest. And honesty builds connection. When you open up, you invite others to empathize, support, and understand you. Isn't that what we all want? To feel seen and heard? Now, this doesn't mean you need to dive into every detail of your struggles. It's about finding a balance. For example, instead of saying, I can't complain, you could say, I've had better days, but I'm getting through it. Or, things are okay, but I've been feeling a little off lately. These responses are honest without being overwhelming, and they leave room for real connection. On the flip side, I can't complain can also hold you back from fully expressing joy. Sometimes, we hesitate to share our happiness because we don't want to seem boastful or insensitive to others who might be struggling. But why not celebrate the good moments? If you're feeling grateful, say so. Instead of, I can't complain, try, I'm feeling really blessed right now. Or, things are going well and I'm so thankful. Life is full of highs and lows, and it's important to honor both. When you let go of, I can't complain, you give yourself permission to live authentically, to share both your struggles and your triumphs. You show others that it's okay to be real, and that's a gift. Point 10. I used to be. Let's now talk about a phrase that can hold us back from fully embracing the present. I used to be. We've all done it, haven't we? We look back on our past and say things like, I used to be so fit, or I used to have so much energy, or I used to be the life of the party. There's nothing wrong with reflecting on the past, but when you constantly say, I used to be, it often creates a feeling of longing for something that's no longer there. It can make you feel as though you've lost something important, or that you're no longer the person you once were. Here's the truth. You haven't lost anything. Who you are today is the result of everything you've lived through, your experiences, your growth, and the lessons you've learned along the way. Just because you're not the same person you were in your younger years doesn't mean you're any less valuable, vibrant, or capable. You are still evolving, still growing, and still becoming. Instead of focusing on the I used to be, let's celebrate the I am. For example, instead of saying, I used to be so fit, try, I'm finding new ways to stay active that feel good for me now. Instead of, I used to have so much energy, try, I focus my energy on the things that matter most to me now. Or, instead of saying, I used to be the life of the party, say, I bring my unique energy and wisdom to the people around me now. You see, each phase of life has its own set of blessings and challenges. The person you were yesterday helped shape the person you are today, and that's something to celebrate. There's no need to mourn the past because your present self is just as valuable, perhaps even more so. Point 11. Always. Let's talk about a word that can trap us in outdated thinking. Always. How many times have you said, I've always done it this way, or this is the way it's always been in my family, or I've always handled things like this? There's comfort in familiarity, isn't there? It's easy to stick to what we know, especially when it feels safe. But here's the problem. Just because something has always been one way doesn't mean it has to stay that way. Sometimes we cling to old habits, routines, or mindsets because they feel familiar, even when they no longer serve us. We don't want to change because it feels easier to stick with what we've always done. But change is a part of life, especially later in life. The world around us is always evolving, and so are we. Think about it. Just because you've always handled challenges on your own doesn't mean you have to continue doing so. It's okay to let others in and allow them to help. Just because you've always approached your health reactively, waiting until something goes wrong before seeking help, doesn't mean you can't start being more proactive now. Even in family dynamics, old patterns can be broken and new, healthier ways of communicating can emerge. By holding on to the idea that things have always been this way, you're limiting your ability to grow and adapt. Life doesn't have to be rigid. It can be dynamic, full of fresh opportunities and new experiences. If you're stuck in an old routine or mindset, it's time to challenge it. There's nothing wrong with trying something new, changing an old habit, or adopting a new perspective. For example, if you've always thought of yourself as someone who's not good with technology, challenge that belief. You might surprise yourself by learning how to use a smartphone, send photos, or even FaceTime with your family. If your approach to health has always been to wait until you're sick before going to the doctor, maybe it's time to embrace regular checkups or explore alternative ways to stay healthy. And if your family has always communicated in a certain way that doesn't serve you, it's okay to set new boundaries or have a different kind of conversation. Point 12. I'm fine. Finally, let's talk about the phrase, I'm fine. It's probably one of the most automatic responses we give when someone asks how we're doing, isn't it? We say it without thinking, even when things are far from fine. I'm fine becomes this shield, a way to avoid vulnerability or uncomfortable conversations. But here's the thing. Constantly saying, I'm fine, can prevent you from being honest with yourself and others about how you're really feeling. When you say, I'm fine, you might be dismissing your own emotions, or worse, hiding them. Life is full of ups and downs, and it's okay to not be fine all the time. It's okay to feel overwhelmed, anxious, sad, or even unsure. Those feelings don't make you weak, they make you human. And sharing those feelings doesn't mean you're burdening others. It means you're being authentic. If you're struggling, it's okay to say, I've had a tough day, or I'm going through a hard time right now. This opens up space for connection. It invites others to support you and lets them know that it's okay for them to be open with you, too. People who care about you want to know how you're truly feeling, and by saying, I'm fine when you're not, you close the door to that support. But I'm fine isn't just about masking struggles. It can also prevent you from fully celebrating your joy. When things are going well, why not express it? Saying, I'm doing great, or I'm feeling really happy today helps you embrace your victories, big and small. By being open about your emotions, whether they're positive or negative, you're letting others in, and you're letting yourself be seen. So, next time someone asks you how you're doing, take a moment before you respond. Ask yourself, am I really fine? If not, let yourself be open. It doesn't have to be a deep or heavy conversation. Simply saying, I'm doing okay, but I've been feeling a little down, or things are going really well today, helps you share where you're at, and that honesty can strengthen the relationships you have with those around you. And that wraps up all 12 points. Thank you for sticking with me through this journey of self-reflection and growth. You've taken a big step toward reclaiming your confidence, living with intention, and embracing the full power of your voice. Now, take what you've learned and start making those changes in your own life. If you found these lessons helpful, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one word or phrase you're going to stop using, and how will you reframe it? Sharing your thoughts can inspire others who might be going through the same journey. Thank you for being here today. I look forward to seeing how you grow, speak with intention, and embrace the beauty of who you are. Take care, and I'll see you next time.